Have you ever wondered what Johnny Depp whispers to himself before he falls asleep? Not the kind of words you hear in an interview. Not the scripted lines from a film. I mean the private, unguarded thoughts that only come out in silence, when the lights are off, the world is asleep, and there's no one left to perform for. That moment before dreams take over, when the heart speaks louder than the noise of the day. For someone like Johnny Depp, who has lived through endless applause, judgment, love, scandal, and loneliness, those whispers matter more than anything. They're the truest part of him. Think about it. Every single day of his life for decades has been filled with noise. Paparazzi cameras flashing, rumors chasing him, strangers calling his name, people he doesn't know projecting who they think he is. The world sees him as Jack Sparrow, as Edward Scissorhands, as the rebel, the rock star, the outlaw. But who is Johnny when it's just him in the dark? What words carry him into sleep when there's no one watching? That's what makes the idea of a midnight whisper so powerful. Because in that whisper, there's no performance. There's no script. There's only truth. And here's the thing. We all have our own whispers, don't we? Late at night, when everything goes quiet, when there's no distraction left, our thoughts creep in. Sometimes it's a replay of the day. Sometimes it's a regret from years ago. Sometimes it's a quiet prayer, a promise, or just a simple line like, "I hope tomorrow feels better." In those whispers, we reveal more about ourselves than we ever admit in the daylight. Johnny Depp is no different. Now imagine his life. Fame can look glamorous from the outside, but up close, it's messy. It's heavy. It's exhausting. For every cheer, there's a headline tearing him down. For every success, there's a storm of rumors. For every role he's played, there's a price he's paid in his personal life. He's lived in a kind of chaos that most of us can't imagine. But at night, none of that matters. At night, when silence finally settles in, his thoughts are stripped down to the basics: love, regret, gratitude, hope. The same things that every human being clings to when the world stops moving. Let's talk about regret first, because it's always the loudest. We all have regrets, whether we admit them or not. Some of us replay arguments in our head. Some of us relive choices we wish we had made differently. For Johnny, regret isn't about missed roles or movies that didn't succeed. It's not about fame at all. His regrets come down to people, the people he loved, the people he lost, the moments that slipped through his fingers because life pulled him in another direction. He's had relationships that ended painfully, friendships that cracked under pressure, words he might have spoken in anger, decisions he wishes he could take back. You know that feeling when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and suddenly a memory comes back? Something you said years ago that you wish you hadn't? Or something you should have said but didn't? It hits you out of nowhere, and you whisper to yourself, "Why did I do that? What if I had chosen differently?" That's Johnny too. Beneath the fame, beneath the legend, he's human. And like us, his whispers at night sometimes carry the heavy weight of regret. But regret isn't the only voice in the room. There's also gratitude. And gratitude is powerful. It's what keeps regret from swallowing us whole. Johnny, for all the chaos in his life, has things he is deeply grateful for. He whispers thanks for the people who stayed when the world turned on him. For the daughter who never needed him to be a star, just her dad. For the friends who didn't care about the headlines, who saw him not as a character or a scandal, but as a person worth standing by. And then there's music. When words failed him, when everything else was too much, music gave him peace. Gratitude, in his world, is whispered like a secret prayer, a way of holding on to what's real when so much has been taken away. And then comes hope. Because even after all the storms he's weathered, Johnny whispers of tomorrow. Not in grand declarations, but in soft, almost childlike wishes. Hope that tomorrow will be a little kinder. Hope that love, no matter how late it arrives, will still feel new. Hope that there are still chapters left in his story worth living for. And that, more than anything, makes him relatable. Because haven't you, at some point, whispered the same thing before sleep? Maybe tomorrow will be better. That fragile, stubborn hope is something every one of us shares. But here's something you may not know. Psychologists actually believe these whispers, the last thoughts you have before sleep, are powerful. They don't just disappear. They shape your dreams. They shape the way you feel when you wake up. Your brain is in a softer, more open state at night. More suggestible. Which means if you carry anger, fear, or stress into sleep, that's what fills your night. But if you choose something gentler, something truer, something hopeful, that's what echoes until morning. So picture Johnny again. The world might assume his nights are filled with regrets or bitterness. But instead, his whispers carry love, gratitude, and hope. And maybe that's his secret to surviving it all. To keep moving forward after everything. Because in his most private, most vulnerable moments, he chooses whispers that heal instead of whispers that hurt. And here's where this becomes about you too. What if you tried the same thing? Imagine ending your night not with stress, not with your to-do list, not with self-criticism, but with a whisper of kindness to yourself. Something as simple as, I did my best today. Or, I am enough. Or even, tomorrow is another chance. Those aren't just words. They're medicine. When you repeat them night after night, they start to change the way you feel, not just as you fall asleep, but when you wake up too. There's a little ritual you can try. Before you close your eyes tonight, write down one line. Just one. The line you'd whisper to yourself if no one else could hear it. Keep it simple. Keep it honest. That becomes your midnight whisper. It doesn't need to be poetic or perfect. Just true. Over time, you'll notice how it softens the edges of your thoughts. How it quiets the noise. How it changes the way your mornings feel. Johnny's midnight whispers remind us of something we forget too often, that even the people we idolize, the ones we think are larger than life, are just human. They carry regrets. They cling to gratitude. They hold on to hope. Just like us. The difference is, the world never sees their whispers. But they're there, every night, carrying them into tomorrow. And that's why his story matters. Because it's not about being a celebrity or a movie star. It's about being human. It's about the whispers we all carry. The small, fragile truths we tell ourselves when no one else is listening. So now I want to ask you something. If you had one midnight whisper, one last thought before sleep, what would it be? Would it be a line of regret? Something you wish you could take back? Would it be gratitude, for the people, the moments, the love that carried you through? Or would it be hope, hope that tomorrow might just be better than today? Think about it. Because that one whisper, that one fragile thought, says more about who you are than anything else. And if you've stayed with me through this story, I know you'll want to hear another. There's one moment in Johnny's life that reveals an even deeper truth, a confession so raw it changes the way people see him. I've linked it for you, and trust me, it's worth your time. Before you go, if this video made you think, if it made you pause for a moment and reflect on your own midnight whispers, then do me a favor. Tap that like button. Subscribe if you want more stories that go beyond the surface and explore the human side of the people we think we know. And please, share your midnight whisper in the comments. I would love to read them. Because maybe, in sharing them, we'll realize how much we all have in common. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how famous or ordinary you are. We all whisper before sleep. And sometimes, the smallest whisper tells the loudest story. So tonight, when the lights are out and the world is finally quiet, listen closely to your own whisper. It might just be the most important thing you'll ever say. Good night, my friends.